I think that this is one of the most beautiful flowers I've ever seen. I've never seen one of these flowers. And I'm amazed at the colors and the shapes of them. It looks like somebody painted them.
Hi flower friends, it's Nicole from Flower Hill Farm, and today I'm talking all about gladiolus. So gladiolus are one of my favorite cut flowers. If you've been with me here on this channel for any length of time, you know that about me. So last year I planted several thousand, and they were one of the most popular cuts that I sold here, both to my florist and at the bouquet bar here on the porch. My CSA customers love them as well. So today I'm going to talk to you about when I plant them, when I harvest them, how to plant them, how to harvest them, and also how to store them, because I'm in zone 4B. They are not hardy here for me. So let's get into it. Oh, also I've been challenged, and I'll talk a little bit about that challenge later on in this video, but let's get into the flowers. Gladiolas are probably the flower that I get the most questions about. Almost every single day I've got a question in my inbox about glads, and it's whether it's how deep to plant them, how far apart to space them, do I put netting on them? All of those questions I'm getting flooded. So I thought this video would help someone out. So this is kind of going to be a list of all of those questions that I've gotten over the past year or so growing gladiolus. I love them because A, they're beautiful, they're gorgeous, they come in so many different colors, and they're just adding so much height and structure to my arrangements that I don't like making arrangements without them. I don't like making bouquets without gladiolus. They just add something. There's something special about them. So some fast facts: gladiolus can grow up to 5 feet tall, and they bloom anywhere between 65 and 90 days, depending on the specific variety. So I plant glads much differently than the experts tell you to, and that is for a couple of reasons. So first of all, they are not hardy for me. I'm in zone 4B, and they are generally referred to as hardy in zones 7 or higher. I've heard of people saying that they come back for them in colder zones, but they can't reliably come back for me in zone 4B just because our temperatures are just too cold for the corms. Even if I did live in a zone where gladiolas can overwinter, I would not do that because I like to succession plant my gladiolas. And what succession planting means is that I'm planting them more than once. So I'll plant them the first week, and then I'll plant them again another week. And that way I'll have flowers over a longer period. All of my blooms aren't gonna come at once and then go away. They're gonna bloom over several weeks. So I would never leave all of my gladiolas in the ground over winter. Otherwise, they're going to come back and all bloom at the same time. And succession planting is something that you can do in your home garden as well. I purchased the majority of my corms from Fred Nagel and Sons. Fred Nagel's is a wholesale supplier. They only sell them in bundles of 500, and you have to buy a specific variety of 500, which is why I went with the mix. I didn't want to just get 500 pink or 500 purple. Someday I might be at that level, but the 500 commercial mix is what I ended up with, and I bought several of those 500 commercial mixes, and I also bought a couple of hundred from the wholesale for the small scale grower group on Facebook. I purchased an orange and a green from them, and I also had corms, a few hundred corms that I had saved from the year before. I believe those were from Dutch bulbs. One of the great things about Nagel's is that you get a flyer in the mail. So I didn't get this the first year, but the second year, because I had already ordered for them, I got this flyer in the mail, and it has all of the varieties. It comes like this with my name and address on it. You open it up, and it's basically a catalog, a bright, beautiful catalog of this is not all of the varieties, but most of them that they grow, and they're color coded. So they've got all the reds to the pinks to the purples to the oranges to the blushes to the yellows to the greens to the whites, and then the commercial mixes are on the bottom. But my favorite part is this right here. This is a chart that's color coded, and it tells you the days to bloom for every single variety and the height of the stalk. And these heights range from, let me see, 45 to 60. So 45 to 60 inches tall on all of these varieties. And the earliest day to bloom, let's see, 65 for the wine and roses. Ooh, that sounds lovely. Also 65 for Bananarama, which is a yellow, obviously. And then the commercial mixes, because they have the yellows, range from 65 to 90 days. So just this reference alone is fantastic to have. I usually recycle my gardening catalogs. This one's staying right with me because of this amazing information, this chart. Love it. Okay, so like I said, I'm here in zone 4B. I start planting my corms in the spring about 2 weeks before my last average frost date. And our last frost is anywhere between May 15th and June 1st, really. But I consider Mother's Day to be about 2 weeks before my last frost. And you can always take a look at your 10-day forecast, see if you're getting anything that's super cold and go off that. Mother's Day, I spent the day making deliveries of my tulips and my daffodil bouquets. I came home and I put the first 300 corms into the ground. And then after that, every week I planted at least another 300. And the way that I planted those were rows of 3. So I would say about 100 glads in each row. And the rows were probably 4 inches apart. So traditionally, when you look it up on the internet, it tells you to plant your gladiolas about 4 inches deep and about 6 inches apart. So I don't do that. I don't think that's necessary, especially when I'm farming them year to year. So what I do is I plant them about 3 inches deep and only about 1 inch apart. I did that with thousands of glads this year and I didn't have any issues with them growing. It is recommended that you use flower netting on the gladiolas, and I started to do that. The first succession planting that I put in the ground, I netted that with Hardiness netting, but then I came to find out that I didn't need to do that because time got away from me, tasks built up. I didn't end up netting the later successions and nothing fell over on me. I think because I planted them so close together that they just stood straight up on their own. I didn't have to worry about anything falling over. So gladiolas are one of those plants that if they fall over on the ground, the stem will continue to grow straight up towards the sun. So if that happens, you will have quite the crooked stem. So if you're not planting your gladiolas tight, right close to each other so that they'll support each other, you probably should net them or even stake them if you're only growing 10 or 15 in your landscape. So I absolutely loved planting the commercial mix. I love surprises. I was looking forward to every new color that would arrive, and oh my gosh, they never disappointed. I mean, to the point where that one, it was a purple vista, it's called, I wasn't expecting it. I didn't see it on the list. I didn't know it was in the commercial mix, and it opened up and it had this throat that was, it looked like a pansy. And I literally, my jaw dropped. I was actually on camera the first time that I saw it, and it caught my natural reaction because that's how much I'm obsessed with flowers. That's my natural reaction, and I think a lot of you were like that too. So yellow was the first to arrive. I think it's the Nova. Yes, it's called the Nova Lux. It was the first to arrive, and I'm sorry if this will make you never be able to unsee this, but when I look into an open gladiola, it looks like a person is screaming, like, ah, or singing. It's a singing gladiola. I don't know why I saw it in one of the flowers and now I can't unsee it, but it doesn't make it any less beautiful for me to look at. And actually, I enjoy it more now because not only is it beautiful, it makes me chuckle a little bit. And those are my 2 favorite things. So now, the bad news about gladiolas, and this is probably going to be the only bad thing, is they do have a tendency to have something called THRIPS. Now, THRIPS are a tiny little evil, vile, disgusting, horrific creature. It's a bug. So I started noticing THRIPS. I started noticing some white streaking on my darkest gladiola. I had this one that was almost black. It was a very dark purple. And I started noticing some white streaking on the petals. I'm going, this is strange. What is this? So closer inspection, and I discovered the tiniest of vile creatures called a thrip. So if you're new here, thrip is my curse word. I hate them so much that anytime I have anger, I will say, what the thrip? Or holy thrip. You know, you get the point. Anyway, thrips became my curse word on here because I was cursing them from day one. So thrips actually are very, very small. They emerge as tiny little light green. They're only 1/32 of an inch. You can imagine how tiny that is. And then when they're fully grown, they're not that much bigger. They're only 1/16 of an inch. So thrips actually suck the life out of your plant. That is how evil they are. And they can overwinter in both your soil and the plant itself. There are several things that you can do to both prevent and treat thrips. I ended up not treating them on my gladiolas because they were only bothering the dark purple ones, and it wasn't every dark purple one. So I basically sacrificed my dark purple gladiolas in order to not have to treat them. But let's talk about what you can do to treat the thrips. So Captain Jack's Dead Bug actually has thrips written right on the bottle, and that's an organic spray. They recommend that you spray that on the plants before they have blooms. That way any pollinators are not bothered by the spray, and it's something you should do like in the evening anyway or early morning. So that's something that I could have done. I did do that on my dahlias because I did have some thrip damage on my dahlias, but you could also do something to the corms, both before you plant them or after you harvest them in the fall. So before you plant them, you could do something with, you can use a 7 dust in a water. So you're supposed to soak the corms in a solution. You can either use a 7 dust, or if you do not like the use of 7 dust, you can use a Lysol. There's a solution, there's an ingredient list online you can look at, and that Lysol solution or that 7 dust solution will kill any thrips or prevent thrips from getting into those corms. And then at the end of the season, after you pull your glads, if you're pulling them for the season like I do, then you could also do that soaking method before storage. Enough dirty talk. Let's talk about harvesting. Okay, so the thrips behind us. Harvesting your gladiolas is super simple. I like to harvest my gladiolas any point from when they first show color on the lowest bud. So it'll start to show you like, oh, that one's yellow, that one's pink, that one's red. As soon as you know what color that's going to be and that lower bud is starting to soften, you can go ahead and cut them and they will open up for you. So I started harvesting like that, and then, time just gets away from me, and I was harvesting glads 2 times a day. That's how quickly they needed to be harvested. If I had a gladiola that was ready to be harvested in the morning and it was like an 80-degree day and I didn't harvest it that morning and I waited until later that night, the bottom 2 buds would be open. If you let the blossoms open in the field, grasshoppers and hummingbirds love gladiolas, and I actually didn't mind that. So some of the lighter colors that I wasn't using in late fall, late summer, early fall, like the pinks and the purples and the yellows, I was leaving those to open in the field, because when you're growing a commercial mix, you don't get to choose what color blooms when. So I was having all of these pastel colors that were blooming in the late summer, and I didn't have customers really wanting those colors, which is a lesson learned. Now I'm getting specific colors for later in the season, but I didn't mind that because honestly, the birds were loving it. The birds were eating all of the bugs that were on it. The hummingbirds were coming and snacking on the gladiolas. It was really just a peaceful thing to kind of sit there in the gladiola patch and just watch all of the activity. There were times when 10 hummingbirds were on the patch. Okay, so you can actually tell when your gladiolas are getting ready to throw that bloom stalk up. You can actually feel it in the middle of that zigzag pattern leaves as it's growing up like that, the foliage. You can feel the stalk start to emerge and grow up through that foliage, and then the bloom head itself will emerge, and that's also a zigzagged pattern, just very similar to the foliage at the bottom. And then that will grow up and that will get taller and it will elongate and it will separate, the buds will separate themselves, and oh my goodness, that's when it gets exciting, because you know your first blossom is on its way. So like I said, I started to harvest in the early summer when that first bud started to show color. I first started to use my gladiola stems in the CSA bouquets, which everyone loved. I had multiple CSA members who just wanted bunches of gladiolas for several weeks in a row. And I couldn't complain about that because I was harvesting them by the bucket loads. It was amazing. They were so beautiful. It made me happy. Every time that I went out to the field, I just had a smile on my face. Along with the sunflowers, the gladiolas were the first to sell out at my bouquet bars. And I've said this in multiple videos. There were times where I had to stop what I was doing, grab my clippers and run out to the gladiola field and just keep cutting, because people were coming just for bundles of gladiolas. There's something about the gladiolas that triggers a memory for a lot of people. Either their grandmother or their favorite aunt or someone that they knew and loved grew these, and they remember them growing outside of the house or in the landscape or having them on their kitchen table when they were younger. And there's just something treasured about them. And they fell out of style for quite a while, but I feel like they're coming back. The structure and the beauty, they're just, it's really hard to come up with something that can take the place of a gladiola and what it has to offer. So when I cut them, I left at least a foot of foliage on the plant, which is easy to do because they're easily up to my hip or even higher. And so you have to leave some foliage so that it has the energy and it can regenerate for that next year's bloom. So I had so many blooming that I couldn't keep up with harvesting. And unfortunately, the last 2 successions that I planted never made it to bloom because we had an early frost. It was about 2 weeks early in mid-September last year, which was a bummer, but that's okay. After your gladiolas are spent, they're done, they're browning, you let them die back, okay? So you let them die back so that the bulb has enough energy, their corm has enough energy to produce next year's blossom. And then after you've had a first frost, you can go ahead and start pulling those corms. Don't wait too long because I noticed that I waited too long on my first succession planting, and when I went to go pull those with using the foot of stalk that I left, that foliage that I left, it had been sitting too long and that foliage just tore off at the top, which meant I had to do more work. I had to dig down and get the corm, whereas the other succession plantings that had not died back all the way, had a little bit of strength left in their stalk, I was able to just walk through and pull, and that was a much easier job. I just let the first batch just wait too long before pulling them up. So next year, I know, grab the first succession before it gets too weak, and it's a lot less work in the long run. Once you pull your corms, you'll notice that a new corm has formed on top of the old corm. So you'll want to separate those two before you put into storage. You'll also want to cut any remaining stalk off the top. So it's recommended that you actually let them sit for about 2 weeks in 70 to 80 degree temperatures. But because I had my teenager primed and ready, we just went right into it. I had her cutting stalks and twisting off corms, and we made a Sunday afternoon out of the first half. We did let the rest of them cure for a couple of weeks in the garage though, and the corms were much easier to twist apart. So if you do have the time to let them sit a couple of days to dry out, it's much easier to separate the corms. And remember, if you wanted to treat them for thrips at this point, you can do so and make sure they dry out somewhere before you put them in storage for the winter. So how do you store them for the winter? So I put them in the mesh bags that they came in. I saved those big mesh bags, almost like a 50-pound potato sack. I saved those, and they are sitting on top of cardboard on my basement floor. It's recommended that they're stored between 40 and 50 degrees. I've seen some people even keep them inside of a refrigerator that's at that temperature, but I put mine in my basement. It is about 55 to 60 degrees down there, but so far I haven't seen any issues with storing them down there, and they've been stored down there for a couple of years. So just like a dahlia tuber, I check on my gladiolas once a month. I kind of just walk over to them, give them a little squeeze, make sure they're still hard and not like squishy or anything like that. You could also check them for signs of thrips. Perhaps eggs were laid inside the corms before you harvested them, and maybe they hatched in the basement down there. So just check them, make sure. Okay, so what am I growing new? No, let's talk about the vase life first. Okay, so typically vase life for my gladiolas, when harvesting them, when the very first bulb is just showing color, I would get 7 to 10 days of vase life for the gladiolas. And I always tell my customer that a trick to keeping the gladiola healthy looking and beautiful in the vase is they open from the bottom up, right? So the bottom bud will open, and then the next one, and the next one, and the next one, and the next one. And over the course of several days, all of those buds will open. So the one on the bottom will start to wither and die first. It pops right off, just like it's meant to be. So all you have to do is peel that bud, that blossom, not the bud. All you have to do is peel that blossom that's starting to look a little tired right off, and your arrangement is good as new again. I'm adding a couple of things this year. Number one is a pastel mix. So this is also from Fred Nagel. It has slightly different colors than the commercial mix, more on the springy early summer. And that's what I'm gonna put in the ground first this year. I'm very excited about it. Let me see. Fred, found him. Fred, he was missing. Ah, yes, it has things like that wine and roses that I was talking about earlier. Ooh, yes, it's got just some fantastic things. I don't know what that is, but that's fantastic. It's like the Vista, the one with the purple, the pansy one, except for it's pink with like a magenta throat. What is that one? It's not on this list. Wait till we see that with our eyes, guys. Okay, all right, so the pastel mix, I got a bag of 500 of those. I also picked up a bag of white gladiolus. So the white ones are the most requested from my florist. Also the most popular at the bouquet bar. Everyone likes to add white. And white's fantastic because it goes with everything, no matter what other colors are going in your bouquet. White height, I like to call them. The white height will go with everything. So I'm excited about using those in my arrangements this year as well. And the final addition in the gladiola department so far. Oh no, I did buy another one. I gotta look it up. It's on my phone. I ordered it from, I think, I can't say. I don't remember. I'll look it up. Okay, so the next addition that I have to tell you about is called Jessica. And I purchased that for a couple of reasons. Number one, my dear sister's name is Jessica, and you know how I love to grow things named after people that I love. So Jessica is a dark apricot lady, also a dark apricot gladiola. She's gonna kill me. Anyway, this is something that I wanted to grow specifically for my fall arrangements because it's got that orangey peach hue to it, and I'm so excited. She's gonna get so mad that I call her dark apricot. She's not, she's pasty white, just like me right now. I can't wait for my summer tan, guys. I was looking at older videos. I don't even know who this person is anymore. So let me look up the other gladiolas that I got. I was excited about them. Gladiolus. Order confirmation, January 6th, 2021. There she is. Rostov, R-O-S-T-O-V. That I also picked up. All I know is they're shipping between May 3rd and May 17th. Yes. Putting the phone away. Anyway, so I have that one coming as well, and if my memory serves me right, it's like a chocolatey, purpley deliciousness. And if I'm wrong, and I apologize. But the picture's on the screen, so you can tell me, am I right? Is it purple? Is it purpley chocolatey? Chocolatey purple? Because that's what my memory is making me think right now. All right, so what's next? Oh yes, pricing. So my bouquet bar gladiolas were 3 for $5. I never had a complaint. I'm probably going to push the envelope this year and try planting my first succession 3 weeks before my last frost. 3 weeks before my last frost. So maybe May 1st? Maybe? We'll see. You know what? If we get close to that date and my 7-day has a real low, I won't do it. But if we get close to May 1st and I don't have anything lower than like 25, then I'm gonna do it. I have been challenged and I have accepted the challenge. So Sarah and Nicole from the Let's Grow Girls podcast, I was just a guest on the podcast earlier this year, and I was talking all about gladiolas. So if you missed that episode, I'm gonna link it down below. I was just informed by them the other day that I was the most downloaded podcast guest that they've had so far, which is very exciting. So thank you guys for checking that out. But they challenged me. I'm calling it the Dame Edna Challenge. You may have heard of Dame Edna. This is an Australian comedian, and the character of Dame Edna has a slight obsession with gladdies. That's what she calls them. So there's, oh, my email's going off. So Dame Edna is known for dressing up outrageously with gladiolas, and I have been challenged and I have accepted this challenge. So 2021 in the summer when my glads are in full force, I'm going to recreate this photo. I can't stop And I can't stop laughing because I already got the glasses, I already got the wig, I already got everything. I cannot wait. I am counting down the days until my gladiolas are in full bloom because we got some tricks up our sleeves and behind our back. It's gonna be really fun. I think my mom's might even be a little more excited than I am about it, but she's probably gonna help me because I have no idea how we're gonna make this work. It's gonna be like taped to the back of me. I don't know. There's gonna be a video about it and it's gonna be fantastic because Dame Edna, I'm pretty sure she's my new idol. Like, come on, it's amazing. I already picked out my glasses. She calls them face furniture. Why didn't I think of that? Face furniture? Oh, I love it. I probably left something out here. I kind of go off on little tangents when I'm talking and I don't like to hold myself back. I keep hitting you, I'm sorry. I have so much energy today, I don't understand. I need to go run a marathon or something. I fell today, guys. I fell. So yesterday was 41, 42 degrees, sunshine, so a lot of the snow in our driveway like melted, but then it got cold in like the mid-20s overnight, so it all froze. So I was going to open the chickens this morning. I don't even show you, but I got a boo-boo. I was going out with buckets, chicken food. I just, my feet, they just right out from underneath me and I landed hard. I thought I broke my elbow, but I didn't. And my knee, I landed basically on my left knee and my left elbow. I was wearing long pants too. My knee is scraped up, like sliding into third base scraped up. I couldn't believe it. I think I might even have like little rocks or something in my knee. But anyway, it was bad. So anyway, Brad said he's gonna try to scrape up the driveway. So I had to like walk through 3.5 feet of snow to get to the chicken coop this morning. Anyway, sidebar. So that is how I do gladiolas here at Flower Hill Farm, and I have had such success with them. I will never not grow them. I think everyone needs gladiolas in their landscape, home gardener, farmer, whatever you're doing, put them in, they're worth it. Even if you're just growing them to cut them and bring them in the house, just, they fill me with life. I also put mine in the fridge. Did I say that? I stored them in the fridge. If I wanted them to open faster, I did not keep them in the fridge, but if I wanted them to stay closed longer, say I harvested them on a Monday and I didn't need them till Friday, I'd put them in the fridge. If I harvested them on a Thursday and I needed them on Friday, I needed them to open up more, I wouldn't put them in the fridge. So it really, you have to time it, depending on when you want those to be blooming for you. Who is it? Reveal yourself! Bye, we're gonna go downstairs. Oh, you just punched me in the face. So once you pull your corms, you'll notice that a new form has a form corm. Okay. I can't even do it now. Yawn! So gross. I hate that. That's what they do. I can't do it. I was gonna do a drum roll here, but I don't know what that was. Thank you.